What's up everyone, Kriddle here, back again with more Diablo 4. Today we are raising the dead and taking a look at the Necromancer. As always, this will not be about the best Necromancer build to dominate the world, but if I had fun. It also happens to be extremely powerful, which is a nice plus. TLDR, yes, Necromancer was fun. For a while. So, what is the Necromancer all about and how does it work? The first thing I noticed when playing the Necromancer is that it's the only class that starts with an ability. That ability is Raise Dead and allows you to have up to 4 skeletal minions helping you slaughter your foes. Later you will get an additional 3 skeletal minions for a total of 7 to do your bidding. If you use the ability on a corpse when you already have maximum minions, it will instead buff them for a short duration. Now, the problem is getting those corpses to summon skeletons, and this is where your basic skills come in. The first thing you choose is a basic attack, which is always ready and generates essence when used. Essence is the resource used to activate stronger spells and abilities, which we'll get into in a moment. For this, I chose Reap and fully upgraded it to Acolyte's Reap, which basically forms a corpse every 5 seconds for you to use. You can also choose Decompose for the same reason, but I found swinging a giant scythe to be way more fun. The other 2 abilities could also be used, but I wouldn't recommend them unless you don't plan to use corpses, and what sort of Necromancer would do that? Next, you'll choose a core ability, which is where you'll spend most, if not all, of your essence. I went with Blight as I was planning to build around creating puddles for enemies to stand in while my minions beat on them. Seems smart to me, and it worked fairly well. I quickly realized that the first 2 abilities were really just a place to spend skill points so that you could get to your next set of abilities and where Necromancer really shined. Remember those corpses you were creating to summon skeletons? Well, you probably have quite a few extra corpses sitting around at this point because your skeletons are actually tankier than you would think. Now it's time to use up those corpses with Corpse Explosion. At this point, no other class comes close to the Necromancer in terms of power, and it's so easy to play. All you have to do is slay a few enemies, then boom, explode the corpses and slay more enemies and create more corpses until you and your minions are the only ones left. I do recommend getting Enhanced Corpse Explosion for the larger radius, and then you can decide if you want Plagued Corpse Explosion for more damage, or what I went with, Blighted Corpse Explosion to continue my original plan of puddles for enemies to stand in. I didn't do a lot of testing here, but from what I could tell, these puddles stacked up and just melted enemies very quickly. You could stick with the basic Corpse Explosion and watch their health go from 100% to 0 in an instant, but it was strangely satisfying to watch their life drain out of them. While here, I would also recommend grabbing Blood Mist for a defensive ability just in case things got a bit crazy. There's no need to upgrade Blood Mist further as everything you need is in the basic skill, but you could grab its upgrade to create a corpse every second Blood Mist is active. Instead, I decided to put points into Skeletal Warrior Mastery to beef up my skeletons a bit more for those tougher fights. For me, this was it. I was done building the class and having fun playing it. That was until I found this. This one item changed my life as I no longer had to cast Corpse Explosion manually, but simply cast Blood Mist on cooldown, which was almost always up so long as I had enough corpses lying around when I used it. From here, I simply beefed up my minions further, including my Golem, which I was able to get at level 25 after doing my class quest. The rest of the Necromancer abilities didn't seem to do much for me, and I was running low on skill slots anyway. I kept Corpse Explosion on my bar just in case Blood Mist was on cooldown, but I could have removed it in place of the ultimate ability, Army of the Dead. I suppose you could pick up Hewed Flesh instead of a core skill, then use that skill slot for a curse. If I did that, I would most likely choose Decrepify, which would help you keep your minions alive longer. It would also reduce your active cooldowns, which would work well with Army of the Dead, but otherwise it would only help Blood Mist, which is almost always available. Overall, the Necromancer is extremely easy to play and very strong. I expect this particular build to be nerfed before release, but even if it does, I still think this would be a fun and viable build until the endgame. For a moment, I thought Necromancer is the class for me, but I realized minions are not really my thing, and while you can build a Necromancer without them, it just seemed weird. Also, as I said in the beginning, it was fun for a while. This playstyle, while strong, was a bit too lazy for me, as I would just have my minions take down a few enemies, then hit Blood Mist and walk around. The problem is, no other build felt good to play as a Necromancer, but I think that no minion Bone Spear could be something I would try when the game releases. Well, I'm Kriddle, and that's the Necromancer. If you enjoyed this video, please raise that like button, as it helps me a lot. Thanks for watching. Bye! Oh my god.